Hi guys, I'm Becca Otis from Five Lines Pottery, and I'm located in Van.
And I'm Ryan Durbin from RD Ceramics, located in Highland Heights, Kentucky.
And welcome to Wheel Talk. Okay, I think I started late. Okay, we are
Are
done.
you good, Becca? You good?
We're good.
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 Okay.
Good.
We're live.
We're live.
Officially.
Hi Ryan.
Hello. Where in the world is Becca right now?
Oh man, I should have a little map. Where in the world is Carmen San Diego? I am in. I'm in Bel Air, Michigan.
Is that a towel?
Yes. I have to show you this towel because
Oh, that's like kind of like what kids have that have the
yes.
hood on it and it like wraps around them and
Yes. So I'm in Bel Air, Michigan, and I met this woman at a show last week, and her name is June, and she's lovely. And she had mentioned to me that if I couldn't find a place to park, that just to call her up because her mom has a bunch of property. It's like six acres. Her mom's name is Jill. I arrived here on Sunday, and June was not here. No, I arrived here on Saturday, and June was not here, and I spent the entire day talking to Jill, who's like 75. And she's like right to her grumpy era, like right almost there, to the
okay.
grumpy stage. And she's fucking lovely. I love her. She made me this towel. Well, she had it already made, but look at what
Yeah,
she
the top looks like a hand towel and the
look at
bottom looks like a body towel.
look at what she embroidered on it.
What does it say? Sup per
Super pot lady.
super pot lady. Okay.
I now have a cape.
I was thinking like super fragilicious out, but yeah, the docious or whatever.
Super fragilistic expialidocious.
Expialidocious, yeah.
Anyway, Jill is wonderful, and she made me this, and she's the best. And I don't know when I'll use it, but I will wear it when I need to tell people that I'm the super pot lady. And this is, you want to hear my first creepy, not really creepy account with a person out in the wilderness?
Sure. Wilderness, or like just off the road in the woods or something like.
Just off the road in the woods. So I was, okay, so everything out here is sand because we're like right next to Lake Michigan. All the lakes are sand, right? So that means all of the trees and like all the forests are sand too. And so it's kind of hard to find places that I'm not going to get stuck in, with my big ass, really fucking heavy van. And I found this one place. It was near a bunch of different lakes, and it's state land. I checked state land, and all these things. And even like I stayed there for like 3 days, and then I came back into town to do our like podcast and stuff. And then and even these ladies like came by and they were like, "Oh, this is so cool! Like this is awesome that you're just camping out here." And one morning I'd come back and I had slept, and then I was I had slept, and then I Ryan went away, and I don't want to finish my story until he comes back. So I'm just going to talk about how I also took myself on a date to Costco this week, and it was lovely, and I encourage you to do that. Just go to Costco, get a hot dog, get some ice cream. Okay, anyway, so I was at...
Did you just ad-lib that while I was
I told everybody that you left. So I was out, and I like... I don't know, I slept in like really, really late, and then all of a sudden I hear this door close, and my door's open because Lloyd, And this guy comes up and he's like, hello, hello. And I was like, hi.
Oh, God.
And he was like, probably like mid-40s, 50s country guy in a truck. And he was like, are you camping out here? And I was like, yeah. He's like, well, I didn't know you could camp out here. And I was like, well, it's state land. So nothing you can do about it. Like, and he was like, well, okay. And then he left. And I was like, peace out, motherfucker. I'm out of here. Like, I am not going to be here when you come back because you look scary.
So did he just like pulled up and just walked over? Or
Yeah.
he was just, you think he was just driving by?
He
or
was like driving through, like they have like back trails and stuff that he was driving through, and he must have like stopped and been like, who's this? What's this? Blah, 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 He looked like a snitch. So I was like, I'm fucking out of here. Not that I was doing anything wrong, but I wouldn't want, like, there was no signs posted, that you can't like stay there.
Right.
But I wouldn't want him to like come back in the middle of the night or like with somebody else,
Right.
Like, ugh. I'm fine.
Just enough to just be like, I can go elsewhere. There's no reason for me to stay put.
Right. And then I tried to find another camping spot and almost got my van completely stuck in the sand. And that's when I called June and was like, hi. Can I come park here? So she's got her Airstream down there, and she lives in her van and sells jewelry in Baja and stuff like that. So
It's Baja.
Baja, Mexico.
In Baja?
In Baja.
You said she sells Baja?
She sells jewelry in Baja.
In Baja.
Like in the winter, and then she sells up here, and she has an apartment in San Francisco and stuff like that. So, yeah. Yeah, it's been quite wonderful being up here.
Nice.
And they've been very nice to me, and they've fed me. So.
That's good. Did you get a shower?
Yeah, I showered yesterday for the first time in 2 weeks. And like I had showered in the lake with soap, but like natural soap that's not going to hurt the lake that much. And
how much could soap really hurt the lake? Isn't that like
it's a huge
drop
lake.
of?
Yeah, I don't know how much, but I told my most earth-conscious human that I know to research soap for me. That could be hair, face, and body soap. So, yeah. So, all is well. I'm doing a show this weekend. I'm doing the farmer's market tomorrow. June is like a hustler, and she like finds all these like tiny shows around and is like, hey, can I come sell here? So. That's been good.
So she got you connected and was like, hey, yeah, I can guest vend.
Yeah.
Do some of those like only allow you if you're local or something like that?
I'm sure some farmers markets do. We sold at a flea market last Sunday, and we didn't even tell them I was there. It costs $0. You just pull up and put a tent out. And
really?
Yeah, I made $300. I was like, sweet. Like,
did you come with her, or did you just you just drove separate and just was right next to her? Or
yeah, we drove separate and had separate tents and stuff like that.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
She sold like $700. Yeah, so yeah, it's been good. How are you doing?
Busy. I'm trying to think of the updates. So I had over the weekend, I don't think we chatted since mid last week. So over the weekend, my planters, you remember the planter project I did where I made a bunch of planters for a customer that was using them at their wedding?
Yeah.
Do you remember that? So the wedding was on Saturday. She came and picked up all the planters and got them situated. I went out there to the venue and filmed a little bit and took some photos and stuff. So I still need to compile it and make a reel about it. But it was great. It was like a fun project. It lasted like 3 or 4 months of just making these planters certain size to fit the like plastic plant holders. So So I got a bunch of planters. She rented them. I think it was like 65 or so total, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And wedding went smoothly. They came today and actually dropped them back off.
They got married.
Yeah, they got married.
They sealed the deal.
Yeah. And then they ended up purchasing a decent number of them. So they paid the difference of the rental for the retail and
Oh, nice.
returned the remaining. So, some of their family kept some and they kept some.
Mm-hmm.
It was really nice. They do a lot of traveling and hiking and stuff. So the tables were themed with state parks, like national parks. And
Wow, so original.
the planters were kind of like organized like based on the theme of that park. So if it was like the Dunes Park or whatever, then they would have like the coppery stuff or the different ones depending on where it was. So yeah, they were really happy with them, really pleased, brought them back all safe and sound. And then that was over the weekend. And then I just finished an online class with Zipporah yesterday. That was a oil bottle workshop. I think I talked about it on the episode that came out, like the 4-year episode that came out this past weekend. This is going to come out way later, but yeah, so that went really smoothly. It was really easy, I guess. Like I guess you don't realize like how much is involved in the behind the scenes when you don't have to do it.
Yeah.
So she organized all of that stuff with communicating with people. We just basically advertised it and came up with some creative ways to do we gave away a spot. So we did a little like guessing game giveaway. Somebody got a free spot from it. And then everything went smoothly. An hour goes by so fast when I don't know. I just felt like there would be more content to share, but it just flew by. So that was nice and smooth. I feel like she might be reaching out to you. I feel like you should maybe talk to her about doing one or something.
How many people did you have?
We had 28 sign up.
Holy shit.
Yeah. We didn't have that many show up because people were on different time zones, and there were some people from over in Europe that joined. It was like 1 or 2 in the morning for them.
Wow.
And then yeah, we had probably 22 or so that showed up.
That is wild.
But they got the recording afterwards. Yeah, when we were doing it, I was like, okay, let's set the price here. So the price was like $40. I was like, we'll see, let's see how people receive it. I feel like 40 is a good price point. We can get a decent number. I was expecting maybe 10 to 12 people. But, we advertised the shit out of it. She was advertising, I was advertising. We did the giveaway to build some momentum. Yeah. So it was just like the right amount of marketing for it.
Yeah.
I think it really showed that like when you're focused on something, it doesn't have to come across as like annoying, because I think I was talking to like Liz today, and she was like, "Oh, I never remembered like what it cost. Like I missed that." So like just because you talk about it a lot and you advertise it a lot for stories or whatever, like you assume everybody knows all about it, but you gotta mix it up. We talked about it on here, talked about it on her stories, my post. She had a post. We collaborated on a post. Like, yeah, it was probably like 4 or 5 different points of contact. So.
Wow.
It was perfect.
Oh, we haven't talked since I had the live with Speedball. I did a live with Speedball about color theory.
I know, I watched it.
Were you there?
No, I watched it on replay. I think you did it earlier that day, though.
Yeah, how did I do?
It was good. Okay. I don't know how much commentary there was in the comments and stuff. Were there quite a few people that joined? I was just looking the replay, so I can't really
24, so.
Okay.
Yeah, it was fun. And I also felt like I was like not going to have enough content, and ended up being fine. So.
Because you were shooting for about an hour. I think it ended up being maybe 10 minutes over that or 7 minutes over that.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was at the end of my night in the studio, and I was just handling work, and I turned it on and I was watching the whole thing. So, yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it was good. Like we talked about skin color, like doing different skin colors, and we did. I did like a white, like my skin tone, and then like I did not have I obviously did not have a model for a black skin tone, but I did my best. And I think I did like a middle one. I don't know, but it was good.
You see, I didn't. Some of those things of like, you feel like it's so basic that it's not worth talking about. But like, I didn't know, once you add white to something, don't add any black to it because
Right.
it will gray it.
Yeah, that was
But it's like,
probably the
okay,
biggest takeaway from the whole thing I think for most people. And that's like a common thing nobody knows. So now
yeah,
guys, if you add white to something, don't add black because it grays it out. Unless you want that, then fine.
yeah, because I think you were like, yeah, a gray is not really like a gray is not a desirable skin tone color. It's like you don't want that. You want to, put a little bit. I think you were putting like some blue or some orange or something like
Yeah.
that.
We want like
And
vivid. I mean like white, like a white skin tone is like peach. But yeah, like a black skin tone is like deep, dark, like vivid colors. And like the minute you put black in, if you've already put white, or the minute you put white in it, if you've already put black in it, it's just fucking dead.
yeah,
Like,
you're like gray that's like an alien skin tone or something.
yeah.
Like you didn't say that, but it's like it's not right. And I didn't. Yeah, and then you were talking about the complementary and triadic, I think, or
Tetriac. No, I don't even.
tetrat.
Tri.
I thought it was triadic.
It might have been. I'm
The ones that are yeah.
Yeah, I'm really bad with like the names of them, but yes, you have primary.
You know what? I laughed several times when you were saying amethyst.
Is it not amethyst?
No, it was the way you said it. I don't. I think it's called amethyst.
Amethyst?
Yeah.
Amethyst.
I don't know that you said that. You said something different, but I was laughing each time you said it. But I'm like, okay, that's just Becca. Like, nobody's gonna be like, hey, that's not how you say it.
That's funny.
Yeah, how did that go?
It was good. I mean, you heard it, and so I was really proud of myself, and took myself out to lunch afterwards because somebody bought my dinner the night before. Because I saved him a place at the bar. I saved it from this short bald man.
You saved him a place at the bar?
I went to Olive Garden and
Olive Garden. What do you order at Olive Garden?
I usually order Alfredo, but there's some like Alfredo tortellini, and I feel like that would be really good. I know you get the tour of Italy, don't you?
Usually, yeah.
Yeah.
What is that? The Alfredo spaghetti meat sauce and lasagna?
Yeah. The problem is that I am really attached to my spaghetti, and
like handmade spaghetti, or you just have a different kind that you get?
no, I get the Aldi $2 spaghetti, the sauce, the traditional sauce from Aldi, and I really like it. And so if I have somebody else's spaghetti, I don't like it as much.
See, when you say spaghetti, I'm thinking the noodles, but you're talking about the sauce.
I guess yes, the spaghetti sauce. And also yes, and also the pasta. So the pasta, they cook it. They like way overcook their pasta. So yeah, I like my pasta like almost crunchy. So
A little on the al dente side, huh?
yeah, but
Rachel likes it like that.
yeah, I feel like I chose. I don't know. I ate my. You know what though? This is what I will always do from now on. I always get chicken when I get Alfredo, and I'm always disappointed. But there's 2 times that I've gotten broccoli instead of chicken. 10 out of 10. So much better.
Yeah. What's wrong with the chicken, though? Is it normally just too rubbery or soft or something?
Yeah, it just doesn't taste like chicken, you know?
I mean, how close is it to chicken? I don't know. Are they just taking, like, cubed chicken?
Like microwave chicken? I don't know. It's like fucking Red Robin.
I mean, it's probably microwaved sauce, too, isn't it?
No, they actually do make their sauce from scratch.
Oh, they do?
Apparently. Um,
I mean,
but
I
yeah,
like their spaghetti meat sauce, but yeah, I can see why
I just like
some
certain
people
things,
would not.
But it's not that I wouldn't like it. It's just that I'm used to certain things. Yeah. So anyway, the bar was completely full, and I showed up first, and then this other guy showed up, and then like 30 minutes passed, not 30, maybe 20. 20 minutes passed, and this other guy shows up, and two people left. And the other guy that showed up third was like, "Yeah, we have a spot." And I was like, "Oh, hold up, buddy. You were not here first."
Hmm.
And so
You were like, "Sir, would you like to join me?"
I saved it for the other guy, and he bought his meal and my meal with the company card. So,
Whoa!
yeah. And he was from Indianapolis, so we chatted about that. He was kind of kooky, but him and his wife
Cha-ching.
live in Indy, and like, yeah, he was nice. He was construction. He was there on work. So, yeah,
Nice.
yeah, it was good.
That's sweet. Getting a free meal.
Got a free meal, so I bought myself really fancy lunch the next day.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another reason I get tortellini is because I get leftovers. Because I usually eat 2 of those 3, and then I just usually
Right.
save the Alfredo.
Oh, yeah.
Or I'll let Rachel have the Alfredo, but
Eating the Alfredo leftover is rough. Like, you gotta heat it up right. And
yeah.
I usually end up eating it cold. But
I can't eat many leftovers cold. Like, I don't understand how people do that, but
I don't eat many leftovers cold, but that's the one I do. Or very lukewarm.
do you eat cold pizza?
No.
Okay.
I like warm pizza.
Nice. Yeah, me too.
But
Toaster
they
oven.
have their take home. What I normally would do is like get a meal and then get the take home Alfredo for $6.
Oh, yeah. I'm
So,
pretty sure
like,
you've done that with us before.
I have. But like getting the soup and salad, like the unlimited soup and breadsticks, or the unlimited soup, salad, and breadsticks thing for like $10 or whatever, and then you get the take home pasta. It's cheaper than just getting the pasta.
Right.
Yeah. But I
Nice.
can make Alfredo better than Olive Garden anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, your Alfredo is pretty good. And then if you use those, the chicken thighs, so good. So good.
So good. We should probably start talking about real stuff.
Yes, we should. Oh, one last thing. I know I've talked about it on here. I officially got my mug club
Yay!
for the brewery. 250 mugs.
When are they due?
I gave him. I'm gonna deliver him a little bit at a time, but I gave him December 1st.
Okay.
So that's 13 weeks from today. So that's about, well, it's 20 a week, but that would give me 260. But I don't think, I can't be making brand new mugs the week before. But
Yeah.
So thrown, handled, fired, and then we'll do pretty easy glaze, decal, and then I'm going to underglaze stamp the number when I decal fire. So I'm saving that to the very end.
You're going to have to do a decal because the decal firing is not hot enough for an underglaze.
It goes to 010.
Underglaze doesn't mature at 010.
It doesn't?
No.
When does it mature? 04?
Yeah. Like 06.
06? Ooh.
I don't think so, at least. You could check, but
But how... Does it matter, though?
it'll wipe off.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe I should test it.
You'd be better off just fucking stamping them.
You're talking about stamping them with, like, just a regular stamp?
Yeah. With the...
I'm going to test it. I'll test it with the next decal that I do.
Okay.
I'll just throw them in a decal firing and then test it and try to wipe it and see.
Okay. Good. Yay!
I feel like it'll bake on, but maybe not. We'll see.
Very exciting.
Yes. All right. Do you want a listener question?
Yes.
All right. First listener question from Ports Pottery. That doesn't seem right.
I'm gonna stand up. Don't mind me. My back hurts like hell.
Okay. I feel like that's not the right account because I thought it was Potts Pottery or something. Hold on, 1 second. Ports. Oh, okay. It is Ports Pottery. Okay. Because I know a different person that's that other way to spell it. Okay, Ports Pottery. Portz Pottery. Hi, Ryan and Becca. Love the show, especially the banter at the beginning. You recently had a person on the show talking about the business side of stuff, which was great and got me thinking of other things I don't normally think of, particularly insurance. I know you have discussed a little about ACT insurance for shows. Have you guys discussed studio insurance? I just recently reached out to car and apartment insurance agent. I'm trying to figure out coverage and is the amount worth spending per year. Any of your thoughts would be great. Thanks so much and keep up the great work.
What a timely question.
Yes, very timely. Why is it timely, Becca?
Because I currently don't have insurance. Don't tell my landlord. I currently don't have insurance. I'm supposed to have liability insurance on my studio, and I don't, mostly because it's like sitting there empty. Like,
Yeah.
what are we gonna do? Nothing. We're not gonna have
Yeah, you're not there and Sarah is not there.
nobody's there. So, and we have a third studio mate that's not there. So it's like, why would we have it? Everything's literally unplugged or the breaker's off.
Sitting idle, yeah.
And so I was like, I don't want to get it until I go back. But we are doing the coffee festival in October, and they require insurance from both of us, which I think is ridiculous because we are in the same space. But regardless, so that means that I have to go back on the hunt for insurance. And now let's be clear. I was going to get insurance, and it is on the top of my to-do list. It's still on my to-do list as a reminder that I don't check off any day. And I need to get it.
Those
I
are two different types
inside,
of.
My anxiety is killing me because. Oh.
And those are two different types of insurance, though. We're talking. What's on your to-do list is the studio insurance.
Yes.
Or the business insurance as a whole, including the liability.
So yeah.
Liability
I need
being
liability
for
for
shows.
my studio personally, but I was thinking about that I really just need overall insurance that covers everything, including liability.
Yeah. And I actually just paid my insurance. I'm trying to see. I feel like I need to look at it really quick to see what the correct terms are for liability, umbrella, whatever. But yeah, I actually didn't have any studio or business insurance really until a couple years back, maybe.
I think I made you get it. I convinced you to get it.
Yeah, for the most part I was only using it. I was only getting it for shows when the shows required it.
Yeah.
And that's where I would use the ACT insurance.
Yeah.
Which, if you don't know, that's just you can Google it. ACT insurance. It's for like show liabilities. It's a short-term insurance plan that you can get through that company, and like a 3-day show might cost $50.
Right.
That way you don't have to pay a premium for the entire year for liability for all of your shows if most of them don't require it. But that's not going to cover your physical space. I think I mainly got it. I mean, we were talking about it, you and I, and you might have, I don't know if you like told me stories or something of issues or, I think I just got to thinking about, and I talked with my insurance agent about like, hey, what would insurance cost me and what would be covered and stuff like that. Cause she was talking about, hey, your studio's in your home. So if you had any issues with like a kiln or electrical problem or something like that, like that's a business liability. It's not home policy
Right.
covered. So because I think I was ramping up production and just doing way more shows and like, if shit hit the fan and something happened, like I would really be in a tough spot with the house, and I don't really want to risk that. Let's say the whole house burns down. They're like, well, you're not covered
Right.
because
That
the
would
business
suck.
did it, not you, as like an appliance issue or something. So I was kind of like, hey, what's the risks? And, obviously you're like, the risk is so low, but, shit can happen. So, and also I just wanted to factor it into my expenses for the year. Like, hey, is it worth it? Is it not? If you're only selling at 3 shows a year and you're not, producing a ton of stuff, you're not firing, but like once a month or
I
a few
apologize
times
for
a
that.
year, like maybe I wouldn't consider doing it, but it's all up to your tolerance of risk. So, if it is becoming a full-time thing and you're doing way more and relying on your home studio way more, then I would say like, hey, you should probably consider it, as well as, I would hate to, as well as like, I would hate to start doing it full time and not be planning for it. And then I'm like, well, I need to get this. And then it's another big business expense that I'm not accounting for. That's gonna hit my bottom line. Cause I think mine's like $800 a year that I pay. I pay it quarterly, and
Which I think is outrageous, personally. But, it's fine.
I mean, it's one of those things. It is what it is. Like, I mean, I'm sure you could shop around. I don't know
No, you
what
can't. I mean, that's pretty low. I mean, that's pretty average, and it sucks. By the
is
way,
it.
I want to apologize for all the noises that just happened. I accidentally caught Lloyd's foot in the microphone cord. and, and he was not having a great time. And I
Were
also
you like lassoing the cord over there or something?
no,
Or
I moved to the front seat because my back hurts. My butt back. My bat buck. My butt back.
your butt back?
My,
Even your hammock chair is not good enough right now?
I'm not in the hammock chair. The hammock chair is down by the log that I've been sitting outside a lot. And I was like, it's gonna be fine. I'm gonna just sit on my stool, but
Ooh,
it's a hard surface and it's rough.
it's tough. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I could have muted the microphone, but I didn't.
So did you have studio insurance before you were in your newest studio? That is not your van, but your, I would say, permanent studio.
I had studio insurance before I even moved into the Monroe studio, yeah.
Okay. And that was why you had it at your house?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
Was there
I had like
a precursor to...
Oh, wait, no. Actually, no. I don't think I did. Because when I was talking to my insurance lady, I think she said that it was covered under my homeowners. So I didn't, maybe?
Why? Was it because was it based on your, like... I don't know.
I don't know. It was such a long time ago. Maybe it's state to
state. Maybe... I wonder if some of those policies vary by state or something, but...
Yeah, it was such a long time ago, so... But I for sure had it when I moved into the big studio. And paid it pretty regularly. I had State Farm. From what I understand, Allstate is the cheapest.
If you're in the U.S., I'm guessing. Does it depend on where your business is located, or?
I don't know. I think it's Allstate that's cheapest. I think that's what I have right now for car insurance. But I tried to get business insurance through them, and they weren't able to like connect me through to the business people, so that never happened. But I would say that State Farm was very, very easy to get insurance through.
What kind of things do you say? Do you just say, hey, I'm a sole proprietor, or I'm a LLC?
Yeah.
Single owner LLC, and...
Yep. And
I'm an artist, and this is kind of what I'm looking for. This is the kind of equipment I work with.
Yeah, and basically, so let's see, if you have a studio within a building and that building requires insurance, usually they have guidelines for like, hey, we need to have at least 200 or $2 million dollars worth of stuff liable, and it has it like usually laid out really easily, and you could just say, this is what I need. And you can either choose liability insurance or insurance that covers your goods. What is the...
Yeah. Like an umbrella policy?
No. God, it's either liability or... It just basically covers, like, the actual stuff that you have. Liability insurance covers whether, like, the building. And the other type of insurance covers all, like, property insurance, essentially. All of your stuff. So, when it's liability, like, let's say you have liability, and let's say that I'm in this big studio, and I have liability insurance, and I accidentally light the entire, the whole building on fire. Liability covers that building, but it doesn't cover my things.
I found something on the U.S. Small Business Administration, the SBA, of the 6 common types of business insurance.
Let's hear
General
it.
liability is the one you were talking about. General liability.
Yes, general liability.
Product liability. Professional liability. Commercial property insurance. Home-based business insurance. And business owner's policy.
Wow.
I would say general liability, product liability are probably the 2 most common.
Yeah, general liability, product liability would cover all the product that you have.
They detail it. It's who's this for? General liability, any business. Product liability, businesses that manufacture, wholesale, distribute, and retail a product. Sounds like us. As well as the home-based business insurance, businesses that are run out of the owner's personal home. Sounds like us.
Yeah.
General liability, what it does. Covers protects against financial loss as a result of bodily injury, property damage, medical expenses, libel, slander, defending lawsuits, and settlement bonds or judgments.
Right.
Product liability, coverage protects against financial loss as a result of defective product that causes injury or bodily harm. That sounds like a mug is too hot and burns you, or something breaks and cuts you, or something. Maybe if you get poisoned by some leeching, or I don't know if anybody's ever had that happen, but
yeah,
that's always a thing. And then the home-based business coverage that's added to homeowners insurance as a rider can offer protection for a small amount of business equipment and liability coverage for third-party injuries. A small amount of business equipment. Sounds like, would kilns be a small amount of business equipment? Mm-hmm. Liability coverage for third-party injuries. That sounds like maybe somebody coming into your home and tripping or something like that.
Probably, yeah.
The business owner's policy also is, let's see, that one's for most small business owners, but especially home-based business owners. And that one's for business owner policy is an insurance package that combines all of the typical coverage options into one bundle. They simplify the insurance buying process and can save you money. So maybe that's a good business owner's policy. Maybe that's a good option for kind of the summary of those 3.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Did you have to have a commercial policy when you had the big studio?
No, I just had a business. General business. Yeah.
Yeah, it says business commercial is significant amount of property and physical assets. So that would be like probably a corporation or factory or something like that.
Yeah, and technically I didn't own the business. So I would have just needed liability for that.
Huh. Okay. I think I'm going to link to this in the show notes. So
Yay.
you all can look at this. It's obviously the United States, but, that's probably going to apply to most of us here. So I'll put that in the show notes, but is there a certain level of profitability, or like what do you think would lead you to make that decision? Is there a size of the business that would make you make that decision versus just like general risk tolerance?
Say that again.
Is there a size of your small business that would make it a deciding factor for you, or is it just strictly risk tolerance when
Uh,
you would decide when to get studio insurance?
yeah, I mean, like, for me, if it was just me in this van, I wouldn't have insurance. Like, when I have because I have the studio, I'll have insurance because there's somebody else involved. But if it's just me, I won't. Because if I lost everything, I'd probably still be ahead than if I paid for it. So, like,
Okay.
I think you just have to, it's like, okay, what's the reality of somebody suing you over a hot cup of coffee? Very slim. And and if that happens, like, you're fucked anyway. So, like the insurance company is going to do everything in their power not to pay you out anyway. So it's going to be a pain in the ass. Like, I'm always going to go with the cheapest insurance regardless. So it's always going to be a pain in the ass to get anything resolved. so like,
Mm-hmm. That would be for like a liability thing, not necessarily the contents of your studio.
right. But like the contents of my studio, typically, like, I don't know. I just don't believe in insurance that much to insure it personally.
As in, you would prefer to have savings to
Yeah.
backstop you in case?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, fuck. Well, it's getting dangerous territory. He almost knocked my computer off.
Jeez. Lloyd, don't do that.
Do you hear
All right.
him? Do you hear him meowing?
I barely heard him.
Okay, so now
Do you
that
want
we've...
one more, or do you want to go to the topic?
I think we should go to the topic since we're at 41 minutes.
All right. Do you want to tee up the topic for today, or do you want me to?
Since I forgot the topic, I think that you
I
should.
will. I will. Okay. So we are discussing the pros and cons of teaching in person versus virtually.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yes, yes, and yes.
Yes.
And this has been pretty relevant recently because, one, I just taught virtually. First time demoing necessarily versus, Becca's done a little bit of both, but she's also got some in-person workshops and stuff coming up. So, yeah. And we can approach it from different angles of like class kind of
Yeah.
structure versus like workshop kind of structure. Okay.
I think we should start with, what do you prefer?
Can we start with like, why do you want to teach? Like, what incentivizes you to teach?
Fine.
Because that's gonna affect some of my preferences of why I prefer a certain thing.
Okay.
So I don't think teaching is my best skill set.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my bread and butter. It's not something that I get super passionate about and want to do all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of we'll just leave it at that. And then, the money is not a huge driver for me of, it has to be, I feel like I am, getting out, I'm making money hand over fist with teaching, because it's such great financially for me.
Right.
I feel like there's other skill sets that I have that will make me way more money. So if teaching is in the cards for me, I have to have a general interest in what I'm teaching and the audience and things of that nature. So that's what's going to drive me to want to be teaching. Not so much just like the love of, having students get that aha moment, or getting, new people in the mix of the medium, and just, falling in love with clay, or, whatever I'm teaching. It's more so just like, I don't know. I feel like I might be much more happy teaching things that are like having people feeling more confident in the business side of things, or um, that's what I feel like my expertise is more in than uh, teaching beginner level pottery, for instance. So, what about from your side? Is there something that draws you to teach?
I would say that I'm not a fan of teaching either. Um, Not to say that I cannot teach, because I can. And I would say that I'm fairly good when I put the effort in. Now, that's with a caveat to say that if I do teach, I like teaching people one-on-one as opposed to in a group. And I prefer to teach people that know just a smidge about what we're talking about. I would rather teach somebody how to break a habit than to teach them a whole new thing.
Mm-hmm. You don't want them to learn their habits from you.
Right. I'd rather them not learn their habits from me. I would rather tell them, hey, maybe try this, but them having like a base concept of what they're learning.
I wonder if
So
it's easier to teach somebody that's like a sponge that has no prior knowledge and they're just absorbing, versus somebody that's so dug in and you're having to like break habits.
I like to break habits personally. Now, give me a lady over 75 that has too much knowledge in her brain, I'm out. And I say that because once you reach a certain age, there's so much information that you have in your noggin, and it's just really hard to penetrate that and learn a new thing. I think it's proven that it's harder to learn as you get older, but
Yeah, I mean, I know I've heard that with like learning languages and stuff like that. So I think that could probably be applied to a lot of learning new skills in general.
yeah.
Not to say you can't, but is it harder, or does it take more focus or something like that?
Yeah. Oh, men over 75 too, not just women. Gary was the worst student I've ever had in my life. Love him to death. Couldn't throw for shit. um yeah, I feel like I definitely prefer teaching on not in person. I would much rather teach over a screen. That includes like the person talking back to me over that screen too. Like I would much rather do a consultation over the internet than do it in person. And that's like I would rather park in your driveway and look through a screen than teach you in person. That's kind of where I'm at.
Why would you go the lengths of parking in their driveway?
No, I'm like just trying to explain my I'm just trying to
I'll come 90% of the way there, but I'm not coming in the studio with
right.
you.
Like I'm just trying to explain, like a lot of my friends are like, "Oh, how about you come over and like, they're across a
Teach
mile
me.
away." And I'm like, "Bro, I would rather do it online." And
I
I'll
mean,
tell you why. It's not just because I don't want to like be there. There's two reasons. I am a lot more focused when I like turn on that screen and I have a specific thing to do. But also, you have to be, and we talked about this with Sephora, you have to be so good with how you describe things, and
mm-hmm.
they have to be listening. Like they have to be listening and understanding, and that's when you can really like tell when somebody's getting it, you know?
And does there have to be, I'm guessing there has to be a certain skill set of being a learner virtually as well.
A little bit. A little bit. You just like I think there's something about when you're right next to somebody, they use you as a crutch when you're teaching. Because if they mess up, you can just put your hands on them, on their hands, and
Or
be
you
like,
can physically fix it for them, maybe if it's
yeah.
a beginner wheel.
And there's something so special about like them just fucking up and not being able to do a goddamn thing about it. And then having to start over and then going through it again. You know? And them having to like learn from the previous time without my help physically to help them. They have to learn from, like, they have to analyze what they did and they have to analyze how they're going to proceed, you know? And there's a lot more thought process than if I was right next to you and I could help you.
Right. Yeah, it does take a lot of focus. I feel, do you so you said you prefer virtual. Do you prefer a group? Have you done group virtual versus one-on-one virtual? Do you
I've
still
not done a
prefer?
group virtual, and I can imagine that being a fucking nightmare.
Well, what if it was okay, maybe this goes into a different part. Maybe I'll save that part. Okay. I would prefer virtual as well, but my secondary virtual aspect is preferably demo only.
Okay, so like people aren't talking back to you and asking questions.
They can ask questions, but I am the one that is going to clarify or show, and then they can. I mean, I kind of like last night. They get the recording and then they can take it with them and go off on their own.
Yeah.
And then they can watch the recording, but they can't. And it's not necessarily they're doing it along with me. They're watching.
Right. So
They're
you'd
taking
rather it
notes.
be like you're teaching and nobody's. You're like teaching, but nobody is actually doing it with you, so they can't be like, but I did this.
Yeah.
What do I do now?
Yeah, because I'm sure you've experienced this in person that when those things happen, it doesn't necessarily register and get logged in their brain.
Mm-hmm.
I ran into this. This is how I will solve it in the future. It's kind of just a short-term fix, and it's like, okay, back on track. Now what's next?
Right.
It's more like a getting you back on track versus, hey, if you run into this again, you should log in your brain how we fixed it. And maybe that's just a experience level of the student, whether they register it that way um, or if they're yeah, I think it's just a different skill set of the learner as well.
Yeah. Do you think, what are the benefits to in-person, let's say in-person group teaching, do you think?
In-person group, I mean, I think you can, I think it helps to be among other peers while you're doing it, because it, for one, it can build some camaraderie, it can build some connectedness with each other in that room. You know, ideally you can't have your phone, you can't be like listening to something, you know, you're present with the people in that room at that period of time. Maybe there's music playing and for the room, but it's not something you can get distracted and be doing other things. It's like you are with your neighbors here. You're, you know, trying to reach a common goal. If you're being taught like a beginner class, or you're, you know, you're going for a cylinder or something, you know, you're kind of struggling with this together.
Yeah.
I think that builds a level of camaraderie, or just a connectedness with others, you know. I think that's definitely a big plus, and it builds some new friendships. It's you don't necessarily have to have a bunch of common interests. Your common interest is what you're working on. Like,
Right.
I think you can build a relationship on what you're focused on and what you're struggling with together, and it's kind of levels the playing field for everybody because you're both coming into it kind of fresh. If you're beginners, you know.
Mm.
What pros do you have?
Let's see. Pros I have to in person. I would say. I mean, I guess you can teach more people. Like I think it'd be harder to teach multiple people like well on the internet. You know, um, the way I used to teach towards the end of having the studio is we would all do a cylinder like at the same time, and it was just lovely to see how people kind of connected and did things a little bit different, and we wouldn't move on to the next step until everybody kind of got it, um and like yeah, and I also love being able to like laugh and joke, and like I like that part, and so yeah, and like having friends or having family, not my friends or family, but like two people that are friends or two people that are family that are doing the class together. Uh, I really enjoy that. I would say that I have like a really speckled past with teaching. Like I started out really bad. I was like a really bad teacher at the beginning, and I would say that I was a really good teacher at the end, but I had no patience. So, and I had like a ton
What
of patience at the beginning, but I was really bad. But I had no patience at the end, and I was really good.
did you have no patience because of the was it the level of experience that had you no patience, or was it just you teach so many people and you get the same questions because when they're beginners, a lot of beginners have the same questions and they run into the same things and it felt repetitive, or is there
I
something
think
else?
for
Or
me, it was just like that time in my life. It was like right at the end of having the studio, and so that's why I had no patience. But
oh,
the
okay.
questions do become repetitive, but I'm fine with that actually. I don't mind that part. Um, it was just
Hmm.
like being focused. For me, it was hard to be focused.
Okay. Yeah, you have to be in a mindset because I mean, you are the leader in that room.
Yeah.
You're driving um you're driving the curriculum or whatever you're covering. You know, all the time is in your hands for what happens and
Yeah.
what path you're on for that night. I mean, unless you're in a studio where it's just like open studio and you're just there to moderate and kind of help out if people have questions, but if you're teaching, yeah, you own the room there. So, yeah, if I can see, you have a bad day or something, it's going to affect, you don't want to cause a shitty day for people when they come to the studio. Uh,
Yeah, and I feel like one person can completely ruin an entire class for me too. Like if one person has decided that they know what they're doing and that they don't need any help at all, I'm out. I'm fucking gone.
they don't need any help, like they're not listening to you, or they're just because I can see somebody in their own world and they're just working off to the side.
No, no, like they're like, "Well, I did this in high school and I know how to do this." So,
That'll affect how you interact with the rest of the class.
yeah, because I completely ignore that person. And so then they get louder and more annoying.
They get louder because they get stuck and they need help, or
Yes.
why do they get louder?
Yeah, usually it's like that's the person that's like the loudest and like the most vocal, and they need the most help, but they think that they don't need the most help, but they do. And it's just like really infuriating.
is there something that you found that kind of leveled the playing field for them so that they
Yeah.
didn't come in that way?
Oh, you can humiliate
Or
them like right at the beginning.
how do you humiliate?
I mean, like not humiliate, I suppose, but like put them in their place really quick. But like I don't know. I like it really is a lost cause, I feel. Those people are awful.
So like a little bit of knowledge kind of ruins you?
Uh,
Like some of those people that have a little bit of knowledge on something, but it gives
yeah.
them confidence when it shouldn't.
I think a little bit of confidence ruins me. I don't think it's the knowledge per se.
Confidence. Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like the cocky confidence. That's what really ruins me.
You know the student I love? I love the and there was a student like this in one of my date nights. I think he worked with metal or he was a woodworker or something, and he came in and he was like one of the quietest guys, and he was just working at it. He didn't ask many questions. He just kind of figured it out. And he like
Oh, I love those
I
people.
think just because he like worked with his hands and he just understood
Yeah.
he understood how to approach it, and like when you touch it this way it's going to move a certain way, and like he knew how to counter the different variables going on,
Yeah.
and maybe he was more willing to like listen to the instruction and just break it down
Mhm.
because he has to do that in his other craft or his other medium that he worked in.
Yeah. It's wild how different types of people approach learning. Teachers can confirm worst students. Worst students are teachers. They're the fucking worst. And, but like,
Does it matter the kind of teacher?
no, no. Like, I mean, like elementary school, like high school, those type of teachers. Um, because they've been teaching these kids all day. They don't want to learn. They don't want to listen to somebody else. I don't blame them. But,
I think it depends on what they expect. I think
yeah.
certain people expect a result quickly, or
Yes.
they expect not to struggle.
Like the artsy people that are like, I love painting and I love drawing. They're usually like, I don't know if anybody's told you this. I know I've told you this, Ryan, but if you're an artsy person, you're not going to catch on to pottery as quickly as somebody who's more of an engineering person. Somebody that's got more of an analytical brain is going to catch on to that stuff a lot easier because it involves science and physics and gravity. and
I think it's a big feel thing too.
yeah, and the feel thing. And people that are artistic tend to not have those like strong suits, and which doesn't mean you're not strong in other ways, but
Or that you can't succeed in it. It's
right.
just
But you can't
the learning
succeed. But
path
they
is
come
different.
in thinking they're going to be good at this because they're artistic. And then they find out that they're not good because they're artistic. And then they have a really hard time with the fact that they can't figure it out. And it's not your fault. It's just the way your mind works. And so, like, what I do at the very beginning of any class is I say, who here feels like they're artistic? And, there's like a raise of hands. And I say, okay, great. This is going to be a struggle for you. I want you to know that this is going to be hard. Because they think that, like, while raising their hands, they think that this is like a great thing. And I'm like, no, this is going to be hard. And I want you to know that it's fine. You just have to approach this, and maybe you're going to have to work a little bit harder than your engineer partner.
What kind of reaction do you get? Do you get a why is that, or why do you think that, or I'm gonna prove you wrong, or like what do you?
Some people do say like I'm going to prove you wrong, but a lot of people are like, oh, I never thought of it that way. Like this is a science-based craft, and I'm like, yeah, this has got a lot to do with things that work in the world. And like being centered and doing stuff like that. And so, but I think that having them know that before going in puts their mind in the right focus of saying like, okay, I need to maybe not think the way that I normally think. and switch this.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when they fail, which is likely to everybody that they fail at least once or twice at the beginning, it's not so heart-wrenching, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Why wasn't I good at this?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know if it's, you know, they don't understand the amount of repetition and practice that is involved. Like,
Yeah.
I don't
Oops,
know.
sorry.
Maybe it just hits so hard when you fail on the wheel that, you know, if you're painting or something, like, I feel like there's way more control of the actions being taken,
Yeah.
and it's not so drastic when like, you can slowly see it happening as you're painting, but if you are throwing, like, it can turn on a dime quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like, it's so different, you know? And I also love, you know, like, I was talking to somebody recently, and she was like, I'm not any good. And I'm like, well, how many classes have you taken? And she goes, well, maybe 4 or 5. And I was like, so you've literally like worked for 10 hours
Mm-hmm.
and you expect to be good?
Is there a comparable that you would compare the, like, craft of pottery to that would give people a little bit of, um I feel like it's not something, like, is there another skill or profession that you would compare it to that would say, like, do you expect to be really good at this 10 hours into it?
Oh. Do you have an answer?
I mean, I'm trying to think. I'm thinking like a sport or something, but I don't know if that's comparable.
Oh, yeah.
Like golf or something. Like, I don't know. I mean,
I would say like bowling.
bowling. Okay.
Because sometimes you hit, like, I feel like bowling because, like, you know, sometimes you get a strike, but maybe the next time you get the gutter. Like,
Yeah.
it's like one of those things where you could maybe get it, and then the next time, like, you're like, you can't center for shit. You can't pull up walls. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like,
I
maybe
do.
you have
Yeah.
a headache. Like,
I do kind of like that. Like, it. You know, the variables are all the same.
yeah.
The everything is in place. Like, the wood lanes are there. The gutters are there. It's this very standard. The 10 pins are there. You know exactly the parameters that you're working in. You know, you have different pounds of balls that you can roll, but, like, you know, there's not many variables that are changing here. Everything is pretty much set in stone. It's all based on your input of what you're going to get out of it.
Right. Yeah, and I mean,
So,
like, it's so true because, like, you know, I mean, you've been bowling. I've been bowling. Well, the last time I went bowling with Teresa and Brandon, there was this guy that was next to us that rented the lane for 4 hours.
ooh, I would love that.
And
My thumb would die, but
he just fucking went at it, you know? He had,
yeah.
like, the cutest little hop I've ever seen. His like, I don't know if it's called a serve or his throw or whatever, was so
Roll, maybe his approach.
his
Maybe his approach.
His approach was so fucking cute, and he, like, did a little hop, and but, you know,
He probably rented the pair as well, right? He didn't just rent one lane.
no, he did just rent one lane,
What?
but
You gotta rent the pair, man.
you know, whatever. Anyway, so but like, I think of that as in the same way I think of those, like, people that come into open studio, and they're just there for, like, all of Saturday and Sunday,
Fuck yeah.
and they are just fucking firing it off. They're just, like, going at it, you know, and, like, buying bags of clay, ruining bags of clay, and just, like, using it as a time to learn. And, like, in the bowling community, that is a total thing. Like, people will rent the whole lane or 2 lanes for 4 hours. And it's, like, serious to them. And I've never, like, compared those two before, but it absolutely works.
Yeah. I used to do that with my brother back in the day. We were younger. Well, my
Oh, and
family's a big
switch.
bowling family.
Yeah.
So my grandfather like managed a bowling alley for like 50 years or 40 years or whatever. He was on the pro tour for like a short period of time when he was back when my mom was born. Uh, and we would so I started bowling a lot when I was like young kid, but my brother and I would go and they would have like specials where you'd pay $15 and you'd get unlimited bowling between noon and 5 or something. We'd bowl as many games as we possibly could. We might bowl like 20 games each. And we'd get a pair of lanes. We would each put our name on each lane and then you would bowl, but when you like you can't go on the other lane until the person before you went. So we would just continually keep,
Switching
every
back and
time you
forth.
yeah, you switch back and forth and then you can organize it in a way where you basically don't stop.
Yeah.
And then when you were getting down on like the time, like okay, we got like 6 minutes left or whatever, and we would just fire it off so that we could, just keep it going and bowl as much as we possibly could.
Yeah.
We I have like 2 or 3 bowling balls and my own shoes. And
It's
all
a
that
real
stuff, so.
thing.
Yeah,
I
like
have been bowling with Ryan, and it is a
yes,
real deal.
yeah, I despise cosmic bowling. Don't like it at all.
I love it.
Fucking hate it. Cause I'm like looking at, I need to like look at the dots on the lane, and I need to like get like.
This is
I'm
serious
serious
business,
about
guys.
it. Serious.
Business.
Yeah. You will not catch me at cosmic bowling, and I am not out of town without my bowling ball, and I'm just like, let's go bowling. Like, no, I'm not doing that.
Right. Thankfully, he has a bowling alley quite literally a minute away from his house.
It's like a mile from my house, 2 miles from my house, maybe.
Yeah, we kind of got off subject, but I really like that analogy, and I like that question that you asked, because now I'm going to use that. I'm going to be like, do you go bowling?
Have you bowled before?
Have you bowled
Do you
before?
enjoy it? What do you do when you bowl? Do you focus? Do you just throw it to keep it on the lane, or do you aim for something? Whatever.
Are you using the gutters, aka give and grip? Are you... Give and grip, the gutters of pottery.
Oh my gosh.
What about the learning experience? Like, I think this is interesting. Would you rather learn in person or learn online?
What am I learning?
Let's say pottery. Like something about pottery.
I would prefer, if we're talking like workshops and stuff, I like workshops in person. Just because I think the virtual aspect, like, I get it, you're joining with a screen or a computer, but that doesn't mean that there's not distractions around me.
Yeah.
I feel like if I'm physically moving my body to a different space that is dedicated to this workshop or whatever, there's way fewer distractions that can take me away from the thing I should be focusing on. So, I would prefer to learn in person, but I'm not really doing classes like that. But I think the workshop aspect, like, I don't feel as guilty about asking a ton of questions in person because I know that they're physically there. Like, there's not other things going on, and I don't feel like I'm taking away from others that are there, because generally you're going to be in a smaller group than virtually. But
yeah.
do you have a preference?
Well, I don't know, because online you can typically like fast forward and rewind.
If you're watching on replay, right?
Yeah,
you're not.
Right. Let's assume that you can watch. Like, I think with all of this online teaching, we should assume that you can rewatch it.
Okay.
Like, I would say I do like in person. I am a very, very visual person. Super visual person. So if I can speed it up and watch it quickly and then watch it slowly and then watch it quickly, I will be able to do it a lot better than if I was in
Yeah.
the space with somebody. So I'm going to say online.
Yeah, I wasn't factoring in the rewatchability. I guess if it's a technique or something like that, I mean, I can see where the virtual provides more value because it's like long-term value.
Yeah.
But if it's something like a ceramic congress or
Mm-hmm.
something that you pay for and you get a bunch of access to things, like I'm just not going to watch it. Like the number of recordings that I've gotten access to that I watch is like nearly 0%.
Yeah, if it's somebody talking, I'm not going to watch it. They have to be doing something for sure. But
But I can listen. Like if you can listen to it, I mean, I'll listen to that, sure. But if it's a technique, I feel like I would. But also if it's a technique, like you can't see the intricacies if it's in person because you're not documenting it, right? I mean,
yeah. I just think about the fact that, like, basically, I mean, I learned from Larry. Well, I mean, I learned in college, but I really learned what I learned from Larry Bruning. And then he didn't really teach me all that except for I would watch him throw for hours without him saying what he was doing. Just watch him do it. And then I started watching Simon Leach videos and watching him, like, throw. And yeah, I feel like I learned more from just observing than from, like, listening to people talk about certain techniques.
yeah. So that's the preference of learning virtually versus in person. But you're very visual, so
I am very visual.
yeah. I don't. I would say I probably. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I could. I feel like I'm gonna get more value from just observing others in a setting where other people are doing their thing,
Yeah.
and then I'll pick up something subtle that maybe is not explicitly taught, but it's just like a different approach that's like adjacent to something I'm doing, and I can like incorporate it. But it's not like, oh, I'm learning how to screen print onto newsprint, and I'm gonna take this specific technique and adapt it to something
Mm-hmm.
I already do. Um, I don't know, like the soda workshop. I was asking a ton of questions. I was asking questions in a way that, like, what do you do in this scenario when the kiln is doing this? How would you approach that? What are the options on the table, and what would they do differently? If you did this thing versus that thing. So, I feel like I'm trying to get all of my bases covered. Maybe I'll remember a number of them. Maybe I will forget some of them, but that's like, I'll take notes and do my best to account for as much as possible.
Yeah.
But I'd also much rather, like, I really enjoyed going to Trevor's, for instance, because I just kind of was like embedded in his practice and I could see what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I would much rather learn that way than like a structured class.
Yeah.
Like I know Queen City Clay has soda workshops or woodfire workshops. I feel like I would rather go to somebody's place that does this than do a class or
Mm-hmm.
workshop in a like curriculum setting where they're gonna follow, okay, here's what you have access to, bring your things, we're gonna glaze this, we're gonna put it in there, and we're gonna like do it. I feel like I can get a more in-depth um, in in depth. I don't know, in-depth experience maybe just from being embedded in something that somebody does and they do very specific things versus like a group of people where they can't get super deep because they're trying to get like a general understanding of that, that method of firing or whatever. So maybe
Yeah.
they don't go too crazy and too in depth with it. But I also can like choose my own adventure a little bit when I just go visit somebody's studio and kind of get embedded in what they already are doing. So I don't know, but I'll definitely like observe and just kind of take it in
Mm-hmm.
versus like, okay, I'm going to go here for this period of time and, it's very structured and I'm going to go home after that. I don't know. It just feels so scheduled and like organized. I'd much rather just like have ample time and then I can pick up on tidbits here and there.
Yeah. I feel like we're getting very slow. You know what we also
What?
haven't talked about?
I have an idea.
Do you?
Yes, I do. What are you thinking of?
Oh, hi, Lloyd. I'm thinking of hotcast.com.
What about hotkilns.com?
What about their, you know what I was thinking about is that on my little tiny, scut kiln, the thermocouple is almost gone. Like, it is,
It just like disintegrates, right?
it's like disintegrated. And how every day I like carry around my new thermocouple and I'm like waiting to put it in until it breaks. And, okay. And I just really wish I had a thermocouple guard. My very favorite part about that kiln, the new kilns from L&L, are
Yeah.
those thermocouple guards that if you hit it, it like
It won't matter.
it won't matter. And
Yep.
yeah, wow, wow, wow. I am jelly for
I don't think
sure.
I don't think I shared the news here, but do you know the news of my repertoire of kilns?
I do.
I got another kiln.
I think you did share it on here.
I don't know. I mean, did I?
Yeah, you're becoming a kiln graveyard.
I shared it with you and I shared it on Instagram stories. I don't know if I shared it on the podcast. But uh Ben Clark from Queen City Clay hooked me up with an old L&L kiln that had some electrical issues, and I needed the kiln body for
Not
the
because
soda
of the
kiln.
kiln, though. It didn't have electrical issues because of the kiln. It was
No, it
clearly
was
Ben Clark's fault.
yeah, it was a student that had electrical issues, and it got fried somehow,
Oh, no.
and they did some rework and got it back to what they thought was functional state, but they killed it again. So uh, they were kind of like, okay, we don't want to just um, keep doing this, and the customer, was kind of over it, but they had it, and it's like pristine condition, and he gave me the kiln body, and it looks amazing on the inside.
Yeah, it's pristine because of those nice element guards.
Yeah, the element channels. They got the thermocouple things, and I was thinking when I convert it to a soda kiln, do I keep the thermocouple guards in there because I'm gonna need to put a pyrometer, a thermocouple in as I'm checking the temperature at the top and bottom. I'm thinking of just leaving those in there. Maybe removing the middle one, and then just putting that coating around the whole inside and just around those guards and just leaving them as is. What do you think?
I don't know. I think that probably, I mean, I don't know how it would affect the readings. I doubt it would affect it. Yeah. Man, what a
Because
steal, man. What a steal.
yeah, so I would suspect when you put thermocouple in there with the soda atmosphere, the gas atmosphere, it's probably gonna. It might affect it a little bit. Like maybe you take the pyrometer out during
Yeah.
the soda addition part, but uh, I'm like maybe I could just leave these guards in here, the thermocouple things, and then I can like protect the thermocouples, give them a
Yeah.
longer life, and all that good stuff.
And it's like
And
it is wild how an L&L kiln is kind of like set up on the inner parts. I work on L&Ls at a center near in Indianapolis, and um, they just have so much more protection, and it's just so much clearer to fix and to kind of like it's still the old way of kind of like moving the wire around the post and having that be the connection, which is fine because I'd almost rather do that than some other ways. But they have like a ceramic coupling that holds everything in place, and it's so nice the way that it holds everything in place. They've thought about everything, and I think it's so cool. As somebody who has worked on old and newer L&L kilns, that they really haven't changed much in the way that they're designed because they designed them so well in the first place, which is
mm-hmm.
kind of nice.
Yeah, so I still got that date in mind, Becca. I'm gonna get it taken care of. I'm gonna get that new one in there.
Yep, Ryan has to get his new L&L kiln in by the time that I come up in October.
Yep. And that should be doable because I think I decided when I'm gonna do the soda kiln conversion. I don't think I'm gonna do that till December. So hey,
Good.
I'm all
Well,
good.
where can you find all the L&L kilns that you want and all of the info on how to change everything?
Hawkins.com.
That's right. That's right.
That is correct.
That's the shortest theme song for a company that's ever been done, and the best. I don't know what to tell you.
I had a question. So back to the topic at hand. What about the financial side of it as a teacher? Is there a pro con teaching in person versus virtual?
Oh, for sure. Oh my God, teaching virtual, you make so much more money if you're recording it and selling it later.
I don't even think you have to sell it later, but I think just the amount of people that you can accommodate and just
Yeah.
the what are the chances of you in a physical location having availability for somebody to come to this specific spot in this specific part of the world at this specific time on this day of the week versus anywhere in the world at this time virtually. The only thing they need is access to a computer with reliable internet. Like,
Right.
What's the trade-off here? As well as the price is probably going to be a little bit more enticing virtually because it's so flexible, and generally you can make the same amount or more money by charging less per person.
Yeah.
So okay. I mean, what do you physically need to teach in person? Like, I guess the financial aspect of the in person would be I don't know. Actually, it depends, right? Because there's like demo only and then there's hands on. You would assume that if it's in person, it's hands on.
Right.
So you do need.
Well, you need a space, but if you're doing a workshop, you're technically coming into somebody else's space, probably. But if you're going, holy shit, if you're going to teach classes, then typically you need more than one wheel. You know, ideally, and that's like the benefit to teaching online is that you only need one wheel, the one you have. You're not like responsible for everybody else coming into your space. Uh, but yeah, wheels are expensive, bro.
Could you see what if you had to take an in-person throwing uh, uh wheel throwing one, whatever, and make it virtual? How would that how would that shift? Like, would it do you think it would go okay, or would it still feel disjointed and, let's say you're doing a curriculum of a beginner wheel class,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's virtually in their own studio. Well, how would they do that
So
though? They
you're
wouldn't have
saying
all that
like what
equipment.
all the teachers had to do in COVID?
Yeah, but they wouldn't have their wheels, right?
Not necessarily.
I mean, maybe it would be like a hand building. They don't have like a rent a wheel thing where people like. I know they have like kiln share. Do they have like wheel
I
share?
don't
Or
think
people like.
so. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't think. It's like, hey, I have my class. I need to get access to a wheel for 2 hours. It's like, okay, yeah,
Deanna rented her wheel. I
yeah. I
think.
think she told me that.
Yeah. Somebody we know. I can't remember who it is, but or somebody Sarah knows or something like that. But yeah. Um yeah. I mean, yeah, I feel like logistically doing an online class is just so much easier than doing it in person because you don't really need like when I had classes in person, I had to get tools for everybody. You have to have buckets. You have to have wheels. You have to have the proper plumbing. You have to have people that aren't dumb that put clay down your plumbing. You have to, you
You have
know,
to have all the clay.
you have to
Um,
clean. You have to like have your space be tidy. Um, which I have a tidy space now, but I would say back then it was rough. I mean, it was also 3,000 square feet. But yeah, I mean, like there's a lot of things that you have to do in order to be in person. And is that connection, does that connection outweigh the non connection that you get online? You know?
I think that's where you kind of have to like take advantage of the hours that it's not being used, those wheels and that equipment's not being used by a class, and like, have studio membership fees and stuff that make more financial sense to make your business work. Besides just relying entirely on classes.
Yeah.
But also classes are, a drain on the interpersonal talking, and um yeah, just energy. I don't know, the I don't know if it's because as I get older I just value silence more,
Mm, so
and just
true.
like controlling your stimulus around you, and yeah, it's just, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm just so, I feel like all the balls I have in the air, it makes for so much chaos that I need those gaps in those, 10 minutes at a time for like silence, or,
Yeah.
less stimulus that I can control. Um,
I think you have to be a people, like, you just have to. Do you have to be an extrovert to be a teacher? Because I feel like when I was a teacher, I was just completely drained after every single class. And my little introvert body was like, fuck you, bitch.
I think it could work if you don't, if you have, if you only teach like one class.
Yeah, I
I think
guess.
you could be an introvert, because you can expel that energy, and you can save that energy for that class on that specific day, that like maybe that means that you prepare significantly that morning and that afternoon so that you have the battery power to walk into that classroom and be prepared for it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it definitely takes a certain personality. Besides just having the skill set and the knowledge to teach, there's a lot of like, um, being flexible to take questions at a moment's notice or issues to come up that you need to tackle quickly. And yeah, the amount of like being prepared for everything is, you can't always be prepared for everything. So
Yeah. For sure.
but I feel like virtually there's only so much you can do because you're on the other side of the computer,
Yeah. No,
they're
you're
in their own
right.
spaces, they have their own things going on, they can mute themselves, which can remove like, hey, I'm going to mute myself because I don't want to create a bad experience for my peers.
Yeah.
Because with the virtual, everybody hears everything equally.
Yeah.
It's not like a room where you could whisper to your neighbor and you're not disrupting the whole class.
Right.
Um,
The cats are having a rough night tonight.
yeah, Marble's over here, Autumn's over here.
Yeah.
What about yeah, I think the financial of the virtual can definitely make it work. I'm trying to think of the. Do you think the virtual side of thing can be tough financially because of how much work you have to do to get people there?
Oh, there's a
Like the
lot
amount
of
of
that.
marketing involved?
I feel like there's a lot of marketing regardless. I think, this is what I think. I think virtual, you typically are going to hit people that know something about, like if we're doing virtual pottery classes, you're typically going to hit people that kind of like know something about pottery, that have a wheel, that are in a class already, like an actual in-person class. In-person classes, you're going to hit people that have never done it ever before. Your
Mm-hmm.
demographic is completely different.
Yeah.
There has to be a level of commitment that a student has to do a virtual class that you don't typically have in a.
Yeah, they're not going to take a virtual pottery class beginner level without any of that equipment. And then they're going to go to a studio and be like, "Okay, I took a virtual class, but I
Yeah,
never got my hands dirty because I don't
right.
have the equipment." So,
That'd be dumb.
let me take that virtual class and go to an open studio and I'm going to practice.
Right.
Um yeah. Yeah, it definitely takes a different skill set, different mindset, different interest level to teach a beginner versus a person that's definitely more skilled and experienced in the craft. I mean,
Yeah.
I love the teaching advanced students because I was basically a fly on the wall in a sense, and I could demo what they wanted me to demo, but I wasn't driving curriculum
Right.
when I was with
I
them.
fucking
I
hate
was just
curriculum.
I was just available and kind of moderating. But that I wouldn't say that's necessarily teaching a lot, really.
Right.
Um, that's just my vibe. I'm not a curriculum kind of guy. I've talked about that a few times, but you know, but if it is something like focused, like the oil bottle, I am skilled in that enough. I feel like I would consider myself like advanced knowledge. I have very good understanding of this specific craft and this specific practice because I've made so many of them that I feel like I could get any question about it and I can answer it
Yeah.
with confidence.
For sure.
Um, whereas, you know, like some of the beginner questions and think like I don't have a certain size hands or I don't have long nails. I'm not left-handed. Like some of the questions that you could come up to and be brought up, like I don't know how to answer them because it does like I've never faced that
Yeah.
personally, or it doesn't apply to me because I don't, you know, I have, strong enough hands, or I don't have long, like I said, don't have long nails. So like telling somebody like, oh, maybe you just like use your knuckle, but like I don't use my knuckle at all. So like I don't know that that's going to be the best solution
Right.
for that problem. It's just, I'm just kind of guessing and giving them options, but some of those variables, and maybe those are just minuscule things, and that's just like it's not really going to ruin your experience completely. It's just like something you need to adjust to and figure out. But and then like, certain things collapse, or certain, things are off center, and then you just say, well, this happened because it wasn't exactly on center. And they're like, can you get it back to center, or can we fix this, or and a lot of it's just no, you just kind of work with it and get to a finished state, and then we can try again on the next one.
Right.
It's not, and just having that patience of saying, I can't get you back to the proper state of where it should be, and you gotta kind of be okay with getting to a finished state,
Yeah.
and then working on improving that for the next one.
Mm-hmm.
It's there's not a lot of like easy quick fixes for at the beginner level.
Nope. There aren't.
Yeah.
Beginners are tough. It's hard. I think it's hard to really balance the act of wanting a beginner to have fun in a class and to take something home that they're proud of, and also having them actually learn. So like, because if I was teaching a class without any consideration of somebody bringing something out of a class, I would destroy every single piece in the first class. But if you're doing a 6-week class, you can't do that. Like in a beginner class, they need at least 2 pieces to get to the next class so that they can trim them. And
Right.
like, but if they're, so you have to like compromise a little bit on how you're teaching, or how, like,
Do you think goals are important for that? Like saying, okay, our goal for today is to have 2 finished pieces.
I think so. Yeah, but I mean, still, some people take longer time. Like, they take more time. And even so, like, I started doing, even so, like, the trimming class, like, typically your second class is working on trimming. And I started making 2 pieces per person for them to trim before they even touched their pieces to trim. And I was like, you can do whatever you want with this piece. If you want to keep it, and I mean, it was like a 2-inch tall bowl. It wasn't like anything fancy. But if you want to keep it and glaze it and use it as a glaze test, you can. If you want to take it to the max and like test the limits of this piece, you can. It doesn't matter. But that way they could actually trim something that was fucking centered before they got to their pieces that weren't,
Mm-hmm.
And that helped a lot. But it's wild. Like, how are you supposed to teach somebody how to do something well if they don't have something well to trim?
Yeah, their standard of what they're working with is subpar, and as they get better, that's the worst it's ever gonna be, probably.
Yeah. Unless you're Gary.
Unless you're Gary.
You know.
But yeah, they need to have something to trim. What if they didn't? What if they scrapped and they only trimmed your pieces, and then they threw more that night so that they could do something the following week? I don't know. So they can kind of see the do you think they would intuitively understand the value of having something centered and level at the top, would they understand that from trimming your perfectly level and centered
I
piece?
think there's a little bit of understanding that comes from that, yeah. And that's important too, like to show them how far you can go, like what the possibilities are with a piece.
Yeah. And like how, generally that piece that you give them is probably already going to be lighter and more balanced than the piece that they have that's fully trimmed.
Right.
That they have like the trimming that they're doing on your piece is probably so, it's taking something that's good and making it great or slightly
I would
above
make
it.
mine really chunky. I made them super chunky so that they could
Oh,
trim a lot off of it. But
okay, okay. Gotcha.
yeah,
It's just more about it being level at the top so that it's
so that they know what to do. Yeah.
right. Okay. And then it gives them some leeway of like, okay, try different trimming tools. See how this
Exactly. Try different
narrower trimming
techniques.
tool works
Yeah.
versus okay.
Like have a raised foot, have a sunken foot. Like,
Okay, that's true. That's good. I was assuming you were throwing like decently good pieces and you just left a little bit of heft at the bottom,
no.
but not like significant. But
No,
okay.
these were bricks.
Okay, okay. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. I think we should wrap up pretty soon.
Okay. Um all right, do you have any teaching or things coming up that you wanted to talk about?
Oh, I'm teaching a workshop at the Beal Pottery in Westfield, Indiana. I think it's Westfield. And the
We have it.
Beals
We
have
have the things on. We have the list on here. It was on our episode 213 list. I'm sure the September 9th one is going to be passed by the time.
yeah. Uh
That one's at Heidi's though.
yeah, and I have one at Heidi's, but I don't think anybody's signed up. So I told Heidi if nobody signs up, we're going to go out and do a day of fun things. She's
Could
like,
it
"I'm so
be?
sorry." And I was like, "I don't give a fuck."
Could that be a virtual option, and then people can join virtually with it being hosted at Bella Joy?
Potentially. Somebody did ask me if it was virtual, and I was like, no. I don't know
I
how
mean,
to.
what's the because the jewelry making? I would suspect they need to
Yeah,
be kind of close and up.
I don't
You
know
know,
how I would do a like 2 hour workshop jewelry making without anybody to talk to, honestly, because there's gonna have to be a lot of different like things to go over.
but if there's a virtual audience, you don't think that would go over smoothly virtually?
I don't know. I feel like
Hmm.
I'm what's the word? I'm doing everything against what I just talked about. I don't know if me and Heidi are ready for this.
If it were to be virtual, you don't
Yeah.
know that you have the infrastructure.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about infrastructure, but like, how much does that factor into being able to do it? Besides just saying, I can teach virtually, what platforms are good to do this?
I don't know.
I mean, we've done, I've done Zoom for my bookkeeping workshop.
Yep. I would
Uh,
imagine like Skype would be fine.
yeah, Skype would be okay. I don't know how having groups on there. You could, yeah, I think you could share a link and probably make it public and just have people join that way. Um,
You could do YouTube, right? And share the link. You can do a private
mm,
YouTube and share the link with people.
can you? And
Yeah.
it's like a live video.
That's what you do in Patreon, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think there's, I don't think you need to go super crazy with the options. It could just be, finding some standard platform that a lot of people use. It like we said, Skype. Like a lot of people are probably not using Skype anymore. It's probably a super older thing that not a ton of people use, but not day to day at least. but it's an option, and it's something that I think I've used GoToMeeting before, but that's also because Citrix used to own it, and that was just a platform I had access to for free. Just like
Mm-hmm.
Zoom, I have a free Zoom account. So, but I think there are free Zoom accounts that you can get that you can the meeting can go up to 45 minutes for free or something. I don't know if they
Yeah, you just can't record it.
you can't record it. Okay, but I'm sure there's depends on if you're going to keep doing this for a long time, but I'm pretty sure you could pay for like a month of Zoom for, I don't know, $25 or $30 a month,
Mm-hmm.
month to month, and, use that platform.
There's got to be ways. I don't know what Kurt uses for his like little virtual class thing.
I don't know. I want to, because there's probably some limitations on capacity, but I want to say he probably used something like Zoom to host
I
it.
don't know. I don't know because he resells it on his website.
Yeah, I mean he recorded with like the equipment and he had all this stuff. I think I wonder if he had Zoom and he like interfaced with a third party software that is more like a like video editing, publishing sort of
Yeah.
like a video studio kind of like Premiere kind of setup or something where you can have multiple inputs and display multiple things at the same time. And because having the setup of multiple cameras, whether it's like like for the virtual one with the oil bottle, we just used two cameras. We used my laptop front facing. Nobody really looked at that from what I remember. And then my phone was to the side facing the wheel. So it was very focused on that view. So like for your jewelry making, for instance, it might be a phone that's pointed down at your hands where you're working on the thing, and that's going to be the focal view, and then you just need another device or something to field questions from, or if there's somebody else there
Mm-hmm.
that can join on their own device and like field the questions to you like Heidi could do, or you could have on the side and just glance over at it and check in.
Yeah.
um that could be an option.
We'll see.
But I feel like there's so many technologies out there nowadays that you could probably find something manageable that could work. I mean,
Yeah.
there is a lot of logistics of figuring that stuff out. And then like, do you have to pay for the tool, or, how much does that affect what you have to charge for the class? And then am I going to get enough people to pay for the tool to make it worth my while or whatever?
Right.
But I just feel like the number of potential people that could be interested in the thing you're doing is much more achievable. But also like considering what you're going to talk about that's going to come across well remotely and also has a broad appeal that a lot of people could be interested in. Like I feel like throwing a cylinder 101 might not, I don't know. It has that's why I think like the oil bottle is very niche. Like yeah, jewelry making
Yeah.
is very niche to like they can see what your finished product looks like and they can see the steps of how you do it.
Yeah.
I was thinking like, are people going to attend that? Like they can watch an Instagram video of me doing this and sort of talking about it, but they can't ask questions of, they don't have every potential question all in one video that is over an hour, and they can see the process multiple times, and I can actually break it down super detailed where they are paying for that focus period of time versus something they can watch for free and they can kind of get the gist on their own. And I'm like, are people going to get enough value out of it, or is it just going to feel like I'm repeating myself of what I do on
Yeah.
my free content? You know? Do you feel that way with some of the like if you did jewelry making, for instance?
A little bit. Yeah. It's a lot of repetition.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, that jewelry making one is September 9th. If you have it in person, it's in what is it, Plainwell, Michigan, at Bella Joy Pottery.
Yes.
Okay. I think it might. We'll see if it might be passed by the time this comes out, but
Yeah.
hopefully we'll have good insight from it if it happens. If it doesn't, then on to the next one. Uh,
Onward.
what else you got? I see a September 25th. I think this one's a Beal Pottery one.
Yeah, and
Throwing efficiency.
I think September 27th.
There's a 25th and a 27th.
Yeah.
25th is throwing efficiency. What can people expect at that one?
All my tricks to make you go faster.
It'll be. Is it similar to what you did at ClayCon West in the past?
I would say it's more in depth. So it would be like getting a consultation from me.
Okay. Yeah, I think that has some broad appeal as well, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And then on the 27th, we're doing jewelry just like in Heidi's.
Okay, and both of those are in. What'd you say it was?
I want to say it's Westfield, Indiana. It's in the dunes.
West,
Northern Indiana.
Northern Indiana. Yeah, it's not too far from Illinois, right?
Uh-uh.
Okay. Yeah, it's like right on the border, I think. Okay, sweet. Yeah, I was talking to Zipporah. I was like, "Hey, you should talk with Becca. Like, I think something like the throwing efficiency would be a good option for virtual.
Yeah.
I mean, you do the consults, but I think it would have a broad appeal to a group that can just see what you're doing, and it doesn't have to be one-on-one. You don't have to be showing, especially if they can get the recording and
Well, that's what I'm doing with Speedball in next week. So
yeah. Well, there you go.
there you go.
All right. Anything else? I don't have any other workshops on the books, but I'll
No?
probably have some. I'll probably have some bookkeeping ones later in the year.
Sweet.
I would love to get. I'm not going to get to it, but I would love to get a series built that is like all of the tutorials that you would need to do this self-guided,
Mm-hmm.
and just buy it, do it on your own. It has everything in one, and it's a cheaper price than attending a 1 hour, hour and a half workshop.
Yeah.
Um, because I get a lot of the same questions and I cover a lot of the same things, and there's not much variability to them. But yeah, I think we'll get to that point of year where people are like, I could use better books, and I'll get to that. So,
Yeah.
alrighty, good luck teaching out there.
Cool.
Yeah. Whew. All right. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to another episode of Wheel Talk. This podcast is made possible through the contributions of all of our listeners who always ask us great questions, leave us reviews, and contact with us through social media. Thanks to all the fellow makers as well who take time to be interviewed and share about their lives and businesses.
And thank you to Ashley from Boldover Ceramics and Lindy from Lindy Garner Ceramics for their assistance on the Whale Talk Podcast Instagram. You are invaluable. Thank you to everybody.